because this was my only motion that wasn't ruled out of order. I'll make some points to some of the rest of them as well. And I do note that over the last number of days, I don't know if somebody was engaged in mischief or what was going on in terms of a reaction to me tabling amendments to this bill. Not sure who started it or where. There was a suggestion maybe that some of the civil servants had a problem with us tabling amendments, which, given that I'm fully aware of the detailed work that went on behind the scenes through the offices of Mark Daly, through representatives of the deaf community, with the civil servants in preparing this bill. That's their democratic right, and they had a very keen and diligent input in that process. But it is our democratic right and responsibility as deputies in this House to use the democratic methods we have to table amendments to try and improve legislation if we think that we can do that. And there was never any doubt that the tabling of these amendments was going to scupper anything, undermine anything, take from the glory of Mark Daly or anybody else in this. It was simply to highlight a number of issues which we felt needed to be highlighted. And I'd just like to put on the record that I make absolutely no apologies for that whatsoever, because while recognising the rights of everybody in this process, I want to state the rights of everybody outside this process. The deaf community who weren't at those talks, and the hearing community as well. This is an issue for everybody, and if we're serious about it, we'll all take a responsibility for it. So this amendment here is a very simple amendment. It's dealing with section 3.1 of the bill. As it presently reads, it says the right to use Irish Sign Language as their native language and the corresponding duty on all public bodies to provide Irish Sign Language. Very important that that is accommodated. What my amendment simply seeks to do is recognise the fact that ISL is more than that. It's not just a vehicle for accessing, it's a language in its own right with a cultural recognition that needs to be established. So instead of saying corresponding duty just for the sake of it, I'm putting in or suggesting which is an indigenous language in its own right, used by a sizeable minority in the state, and the duty then goes on to provide in terms of public bodies to provide ISL, because I think it puts it in its important cultural context, and that's why we're moving it, because this issue is bigger than just access to services. And I will, because my other amendments have been moved out of order and I won't take the time later on, I would say if we're serious about this, and the suggestion was made to me actually by one of the ushers on the way in, where he said, and as we know, there's a very good programme running in Trinity College at the moment in terms of sign language. My own staff, some of them, are signed up to do that course in the new year. I think it's very good, but one of the ushers suggested that the ushers in the House, or members of this House now, should be encouraged and funded to take up that scheme in order that they can provide the types of services that the deaf community deserve to be part of this process. So if we're really serious, I'd like to see measures like that coming on. My other amendments later on deal with opening up the education system, access to the broader hearing community to be involved in sign language. So I'm putting that forward as a suggestion now in terms of the operation of this House, and that's something that the Minister could maybe take up, because it won't be addressed later on.
Thank you very much, Deputy Daly. Anyone else on this particular matter?